Yo, what is going on, Nitrosites? It is your boy, the Nitro General here, and welcome back to our draft analysis for Season 8 of the Npba. I'm super excited about this, guys. It's been a while since we've done draft. We got a brand new format this season. I stepped out of my comfort zone and drafted in a totally different way than I normally do. So hopefully that pays off for us. And we got a little bit of an announcement to make. But before we get into all of that, I would really appreciate it if you guys would leave a like down below. If you're excited for the Return of Draft League, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Share this video with your friends, anybody that you think might enjoy the content, and make sure your notifications are on. That way you do not miss when I post a Draft League battle every single week. Hopefully there will be some other content coming out soon. I would like to plan in the new year, then maybe I'll get one more video out with the draft every week, or with the league every week. And then once the league ends, maybe we'll stick to the one video, or maybe we'll do a second series. But I don't totally know. But if you guys are excited for that and you don't want to miss whenever I do start posting more content, make sure you have those notifications on. That is definitely one of my New Year's resolutions, is to try and post some more, because I have a passion for recording. And, it's really been a while since I've actually sat down and done it. So, yeah. But other than that, guys, I'd really appreciate if you guys could watch this video in its entirety. YouTube tells me that my average view duration is only a few minutes, which means people are probably skipping around for the best points, which I totally understand. But it doesn't push, the algorithm will not push the videos to other people that may enjoy the content unless, the average view duration goes up. So I really appreciate it if you guys could just watch the video in its entirety, put it in the background, whatever, just listen to me yap. But speaking of yapping, I'm going to end my yap sesh, and we are going to move on to the actual meat and potatoes, what you guys are actually here for. So, yeah, I said I had a little bit of an announcement, and as you can see, there's some emblem that is missing from this screen, right? Our team name is the Baltimore Blazekins, right? We have been the Baltimore Blazekins since the very beginning of draft, right? I created that because Baltimore is a city name that had good alliteration with my favorite Pokemon, which is Blaziken, and that is just where we move forward. But I can't help shaking out over the last couple seasons that I feel like we needed something that was a little bit better and fit us better, right? I've seen so many really cool team names from a lot of really cool guys in the league, and I really, really, really wanted to pick something that fit us a little bit differently. So as of right now, guys, the Baltimore Blazekins are retiring. We have gotten 2 awesome Draft League wins with that team. And, I think they've had their time in the limelight, and I think they deserve a retirement, guys. They deserve it. And they deserve to let a new team take over in their spot. So henceforth, we shall be known as the Dapper Draco Storm, right? That is our new team name, guys. Usher in a brand new era of Draft League content here on the Nitro General channel. I'm really, really hyped for it, to be honest with you. I love this name. I think it's really cool. I came up with it myself. But yeah, it's definitely awesome. We got the little Dragonite here with the top hat and the bow tie. I think that's absolutely awesome. I love this emblem so much. So yeah, we are, that's who we are now. We are the Dapper Draco Storm, and, we're coming for a vengeance. We're looking for some Draft League wins so we can put it under this team, and, yeah, but we'll have to wait and see. So let's get right into the draft, guys. So I did say that this season we were going to be doing a different format, right? This season we are doing Gen 9 doubles Ubers. So as you can see above the tier 1, there is that restricted rules, meaning that every team was able to draft one specific restricted mod. They could not draft another one even if they wanted to, right? Every team only gets a single restricted. Restricted being any Pokemon that is restricted in VGC, any box art legendary, pretty much, right? They're the only Pokemon that are not restricted Pokemon that were in the restricted tier were a few mythicals, as in like the Deoxys forms. I put Urshifu, both forms of Urshifu, in restricted because I did not believe that any team should be able to get Urshifu and a restricted mon, as well as Pokemon like Shaman Skyform, stuff like that. So, but most of those Pokemon, yeah, you can only pick one of. So, and then obviously, as you can see on the side of the screen there on the left, we have all those Pokemon that were required to draft in certain tiers, and then we have 500 points that we have to name 4 more Pokemon. Can't be anything less, has to be 4 more. And then we can name 2 Terra Captains, obviously, same as pretty much other seasons. We do 2 Terra captains from tiers 3 or 4, so lower tier captains, right? 3 Terra types, 1 has to be the type of your Pokemon, and the other 2 can be whatever you want. So, yeah. Now let's get right into it, right? So what did I pick from my restricted? We overall had 3rd pick in the draft, which was really cool. I was still nervous that my first choice was actually going to get picked. I was looking at a lot of Pokemon. I was looking at, like, Kyogre. I was looking at Kyurem White, which I don't really know too much about, but I really wanted to try it out, but we didn't end up going with it. I was looking at Pokemon like, there was another one I was looking at, I can't remember, but I was also looking at Rayquaza too, right? But I did not want a 4 times weak to ice Pokemon on my team. So we ended up going with actually my first choice, and I'm pretty excited about it. We ended up getting our boy Rapture the Groudon. I'm actually pretty hyped about this. Cryogon and Miraidon went first. Luckily, I was not thinking about drafting either of them, but I felt like this was actually going to be really good, right? This is a base 670 Pokemon. Groudon is just really, really awesome in general. That 150 base attack stat is monster. But what really drew me towards Groudon specifically is because it's a very versatile Mon, and in the fact that we can run it bulkier or offensive, right? It has really decent defenses. I mean, 100 HP, 140 defense, and 90 special defense really is nothing to scoff at. So we could run fully defensive on this Pokemon and invest nothing in attack and still have it have a monster attack, or we could just run all offensive and have this thing absolutely destroy, right? It has a decent speed stat at 90, not great, but you know, it's pretty decent, and I think we'll be able to run pretty faster Pokemon, right? It gets access through a lot of different moves like Precipitous Blades. It does get access to like Earthquake, High Horsepower, Stone Edge. You know, it does get access to fire moves. It does get access to stuff like Heat Crash, Fire Punch, stuff like that. Gets access to Will-O-The-Wisp too, which is pretty cool. Gets access to another move that I'm not actually going to mention right now because I'm going to use it on a team at some point. I don't want to spoil it to anybody from the league that is watching. This Pokemon is just really awesome. The one thing that I have not talked about yet is its ability, right? Drought. Now, like I said earlier, I did step out of my comfort zone a little bit more. As you guys know, if you have been watching me on draft at all, ever, you know that I do not step out of my comfort zone when it comes to draft. I don't like to draft teams that are specifically built around certain strategies because I feel like they're extremely easy to counter, right? And I definitely rely on surprise more than anything when it comes to building Pokemon and building teams. Surprising my opponent with different sets. Having a team that doesn't revolve around a single strategy makes it so it's harder to be able to identify what's coming every single week, right? We did draft a Sun-esque team this season. It's not a Sun team per se. All of the Pokemon that we drafted that work well in Sun can definitely work well out of Sun, right? These are not Pokemon like Torkoal or Ninetales or Scovillain, which can only be good in Sun, and when they're not in Sun, they're just terrible, right? That's not the case. So, I think this is really awesome. I also really like the fact that it's a ground type instead of a fire type, because having drought on a ground type means that they can't just bring in a Drizzlemon to totally nullify us. Now, granted, the only other Mon that was drafted that is Drizzle is Kyogre. No Politoed, no Pelipper, nothing like that. So, which I'm totally fine with. But, you know, that does make it so if they do want to run Rain, they'll have to use Rain Dance, but that does not nerf Groudon, right? Groudon can still hit water types for neutral damage with its ground type moves that aren't any less powerful. So that's pretty awesome. Now, I did have to wait for the full round 1 to finish and then round 2 to come all the way back to me. And at that point, I did not know if my tier 1 would be taken. And I was really nervous because if it was taken, I would have to rethink my entire draft, including the fact that I would have ended up dropping Groudon in the grace period after it because of the fact that it would not have fit the team. But luckily, it was still available, so we picked up a Pokemon that I've been wanting to pick up for a while, and I really think it works out great here. We picked up Blue, the Walking Wake. Blue, obviously, in reference to, you know, Jurassic World, the raptor name that Chris Pratt named it Blue. So, but yeah, I'm really excited about Walking Wake. It's really, really awesome. I mean, base 125 special attack stat is awesome. Base 109 speed plus a 99 HP stat is really, really good. You know, this thing obviously gets the photosynthesis boost in the sun as well. Not a fire type, again, so I don't have to worry about being neutralized with rain. In fact, this Pokemon works out very well. It is a best case scenario having a water type that works in Sun. I think this is the only time ever. So being able to have this Pokemon that gets access to Hydro Steam that's powered up in the Sun is just awesome. And if we're Photosynthesis special attack in the Sun, Hydro Steam will get the Photosynthesis boost, the stab boost, and the Sun boost from that move, and that's not, counting the Life Orb or Choice Specs or whatever we put on this thing, right? And maybe even if we do go speed instead of special attack and have that be our Photosynthesis boost, we'll still be really, really good in the Sun, hitting extremely hard, right? It is really, really good. And if they bring in a water type, or Drizzlemon, my Hydro Steam still get powered up, which is really, really awesome. This thing also gets access to Hydro Pump, if we do decide we want to use it, but I highly doubt we ever will. It gets access to stuff like Flamethrower, which is pretty cool, and it does get access to Flip Turn as well, which is a Pokemon that I'm really excited about drafting, because just being able to come in, you get the Photosynthesis boost in the Sun, pressure a Pokemon to switch out, and then actually just be able to Flip Turn out. Really, really cool. Only has base 83 attack, which honestly could be worse, but at the same time, we're not looking to really do damage with Flip Turn. We're doing it for pivoting. We're doing it to threaten Pokemon. That's what we're doing in general. So that's just really, really awesome. Now, for our Tier 2, I'm really excited about this too, because this Pokemon has been sitting in Tier 1 for every season since it has been released in Gen 9, but it was never drafted in any single season of the NPBA. So I thought I'd drop it down to Tier 2, that way maybe it was drafted, maybe it would get drafted, and you know what? We ended up drafting it. And I'm really excited about this because this Pokemon is one I've wanted to use for so long. It is 4 times weak to a move, but we picked up Shredder the King Gambit. I'm pretty hyped about this. 4 times weak to fighting, very slow, definitely not great, right? Especially when you have moves like Mach Punch and stuff like that. But this thing just hits absolutely hard, and having an awesome Steel type to take on the fairy moves aimed at Walking Wake is so awesome. I'm actually so hyped about this thing, right? And I have definitely an attachment with this. This is probably my second favorite new Pokemon released in Gen 9 after Palafin. I really, really like it. I found a full odd shiny Bisharp on my second night playing the game, which was amazing. I've never found a full odd shiny Pokemon that early into a playthrough ever. I don't even think I've ever found a shiny Pokemon in a playthrough ever. The only other time was when we found that shiny Murkrow in our playthrough of Legends Arceus here on the channel, right? But at that point, I had already beaten Legends Arceus on my own, so I've never played through a game for the first time and found a full odd shiny Pokemon, which is awesome. Actually, no, that is a lie. When I played Let's Go for the first time, I found a shiny Nidorino in right before the Victory Road in that game, and I ended up being able to finish out the game with a shiny Nidoking, which was really, really cool. But other than that, yeah, this is it. So, but I absolutely love this Pokemon. It hits base 135 attack. Sign me up, bro. This thing is awesome. Base 120 defense, base 100 HP. This thing is going to be taking so many physical attacks, which is awesome, especially because of the fact that it is weak to fighting, which is a mainly physical type attacker, right? So we could actually run Tropical Berry, and then, we may be able to survive one hit. But I think most of the time, I don't think we're going to be staying in. This thing cannot Terra, so we can't, Terra Ghost or Terra Flying. But it does get access to stuff like Iron Head. It does get access to stuff like Sucker Punch, which is awesome. It does get access to Kotao Cleave, which is its signature move. It gets access to, Low Kick, Brick Break. A lot of really, really cool moves. I think this thing is just going to be really good in general. Speaking of its abilities, it's, gets access to Defiant, which is awesome. So if we have a team that has a Intimidate Mon or Sticky Webs, anything like that, we bring Shredder in, steps on those Sticky Webs, gets the speed lowering, it's already slow, but then gets +2 in attack, and can come in and just be like, pop, pop, give him the old 1-2 punch. That's just awesome. And then Supreme Overlord, come on. Bring this thing in at the end of a match, right? It's King Gambit has received strength from the Fallen, right? We have 4 or 5 other Pokemon that may have fainted at this time. We bring King Gambit in. We just click Sucker Punch over and over and over again and just be able to knock everything out. I'm really hoping at some point this season we can get a King Gambit endgame reverse sweep. That would be absolutely peak. and I really hope that at some point, Shredder can come in and at least sucker punch something at the end for a KO and get us the win, right? Absolutely, that's awesome. We do have to worry about it because obviously every Kingambit run sucker punch, we're gonna have to worry about people predicting that. So yeah. But now that I had all three of these Pokemon, I could start planning out the rest of my draft. Now, I did not even start planning out the rest of my draft until I got these three Mons, because otherwise I would have had to, if I didn't, I would have had to completely redo everything. So like I said, I was building a Sun S team, and I kind of wanted to move forward a little bit with the Sun Pokemon, especially because the Koraidon team, which was always either picking a couple turns before me or a couple turns after, since he went round 1 and we were round 3, he was also building a Sun team. So with the straight fact that I was really nervous about this thing being taken later, or by him, we had to draft it now, right? So we picked ourselves up Flower Power the Venusaur, right? I'm pretty hyped about this too. I've never drafted Venusaur, and I didn't even consider it until looking at the doc. Usually Venusaur doesn't even go till the end of the draft if he's drafted whatsoever, but I think that's really awesome because he does get access to Chlorophyll, which doubles its speed stat in the Sun. So right, we have a base 80 speed stat, which is not great, but it's not awful, I guess. In the Sun, that's 160 base speed. Like, come on, bro. Bringing this thing in, and he's going to be the Flash. I might as well slap a lightning bolt on his head and call him Barry Allen, because this dude is lightning fast in the Sun. Without the Sun, he really is just a bulkier mon. He's got base 100 special defense. Base 80 HP is alright, and base 83 defense is alright. This thing we can run very defensive. We can also run specially offensive because it's got base 100 special attack. Does get access to stuff like Sludge Bomb, Energy Ball, Leaf Storm if we wanted to. Gets access to like Earth Power, stuff like that. Sleep Powder, Poison Powder can be run pretty specially offensive as well. Plus, because it's a poison type, we are able to absorb Toxic Spikes. Now, I think I already mentioned Poison Powder and Sleep Powder. I think that's going to be pretty awesome. I'm really excited for that. It also does get access to another move that I don't really want to talk about now because I'm afraid that people are going to see it, but it's got access to a move that probably we will never run unless an extreme circumstance. But it's definitely a really, really cool mon, and I think it's going to be pretty awesome. Could we end up dropping it? Maybe, but I do think this is pretty cool. So coming in after this, I wanted to draft the last of the Pokemon that were going to be Sun-based mons, right? There was one more Pokemon specifically that I wanted. I needed a Ghost type because of the fact that we had Kingambit. There was no way I was going to go through this entire draft without getting a Ghost type. We need that so we can take on the fighting type attacks, but we also need a Fire type to take on the Sun. So, Fire Ghost type, we drafted his Johtoian form. We got Vesuvius coming back, guys! We have Typhlosion Hisui. I'm really hyped about this. This Pokemon coming in on the Sun and just firing off eruptions. Man, I am so hyped to just be able to bring this guy in on Groudon Sun, Choice Scarf him, and just eruption our way to victory. I think it's going to be chef's kiss. I think it's just going to be awesome. I think it's going to hit so hard. Does get access to Fire Blast, does get access to Flamethrower, all those basic moves. Also gets access to Shadow Ball because I wanted to be able to fire off Shadow Balls even if rain came out, all that kind of stuff. He's just really, really awesome. Base 119 special attack set's definitely great. Base 95 speed is pretty decent. We don't have a lot of very fast mons on our team, right? We have a very slow team and a very bulky team. I definitely think our team is going to be susceptible to Toxic Spikes, so we do have to worry about that, but we do have Venusaur. This thing in general is not really bulky, and I wouldn't really run it bulky unless in extreme circumstance, but this thing is just going to be able to come in on the Sun, fire off moves, and be able to knock out. Like, it's just great. It does get access to Will-O-the-Wisp, too, which is pretty cool. So if I can, outspeed something and Will-O-the-Wisp it, that would be absolutely awesome. But because this thing is so strong, I think it's going to be so great, I decided that it was in my best bet to make this thing a Terra Captain. So we decided that our Terra types for this Pokemon were going to be Fire, Water, and Fairy, right? I debated on going Ghost because I think that we're already going to be extremely powerful in the Sun. So I thought about making him Danny Phantom and going Ghost, but at the same time, I feel like I don't know. There's a part of me that just wants to go in and click buttons. Like, this mon wants to be my click button mon. So, like, I kind of just want to come in the sun, Terrafire, and just eruption our way to victory. I know I say that, but, like, that's what I'm really hoping to do at some point. So, and then we are Terra Water to, you know, make us neutral to the water type attacks, and then take resist ground type attacks as well. Make us neutral to ground type attacks and resist the water type attack. No, water types don't even resist water type attacks. Make us neutral to both of those typings, I guess, which would be really good. And then be able to hit ground types for super effective back, which would be really, really cool. Although, if we do Terra Water, obviously, Terra Blast is going to be powered down in the sun, so we do have to worry about that. And then we have Terra Fairy, because our specific fairy type that I wanted to draft this round, but I was too afraid that Typhlosion would be taken by the other Sun team. So I was really hoping our fairy type wouldn't be taken. Luckily, it wasn't. But it's not the best fairy type in the world. So I decided that having a, you know, Terra Fairy on Typhlosion, so maybe at some point I can just Terra Fairy and then Terra Blast things would be pretty nice. But yeah, like I said, I did pick up a fairy on our next pick. We actually picked up a mon that I've never actually used before, and that is Flutter the Ribombee, right? I absolutely love Ribombee. I think it's really cute. It's a really cool Pokemon. I've used it. I've just never really had, like, an extremely successful time using it, right? Base 124 speed. It's definitely one of our fastest, if not our fastest mon on our team. So I was just a little nervous in general of what I wanted to do with this thing. It hit, I mean, base 95 special attack's not bad. Its bulk is abysmal, right? Its attack's 55. We're not going to be using its attack, right? But it's abysmally, you know, paper thin. So the thing is with this, though, is it does get access to sticky webs. So if I want to focus sash this thing, right, bring it in, let it sticky web, which is just really, really nice in general, I think that would be pretty cool. And then we are able to fire off Quiver Dances as well, and then fire off Bug Buzzes that go through substitutes and stuff would be pretty cool. Does get access to, like, Stun Spore, does get access to Moonblast too. A lot of really, really cool things like that. I think it's just going to be really, really awesome. But yeah. So, the next Pokemon that we ended up drafting was a Pokemon that I'm actually pretty excited about. We drafted this thing pretty early on in our Draft League career. One of the first 2 seasons, if not the first season of the Npba. And I'm actually just really excited about bringing him back. We always struggle to pick a Tier 2 Ice type, right? We've used pretty much every Ice type in Tier 2 except for Avalugg. And this one has given us the most benefit, so I decided to bring back Elsa the Articuno, right? Absolutely love Articuno. It's my favorite of the Kanto birds. Not my favorite of the Galarian forms, though. I prefer Galarian Moltres over Galarian Articuno. But I do like Articuno, right? It is base 85 speed, which is not great. Base 125 special defense, base 100 defense, and base 90 HP. This thing can be run pretty bulky. And that's what I'm excited about. We can run this thing bulky. Base 95 special attack isn't great, but I mean, this thing gets access to screens as well. Tailwind, which is the main reason why I wanted to use it. We have a lot of speed control on this team with Tailwind and Sticky Webs. Being able to bring this thing in, even just make it a little bulky, and then fire off, like, Ice Beams or Freeze Dries. You know, there's a lot of Dragon type restricted, so a lot of Dragon types floating around out there right now. I wanted to make sure I had something that was a little bit better than Ribombee to take them out. I actually think this is awesome. It was Tier 2, so it was only 100 points, which I definitely think is a steal. But Articuno's not that great, but I really, really like this mod, and I think it's going to be pretty cool. We've used it before in previous seasons, and if I remember, I do remember being underrated. So I do just want to say, right now, I'm going to go on the record and say Articuno is the most underrated legendary ever. So, yep, I'm going on the record. There's nothing that's been more underrated. I don't know. But, honestly, I'm pretty excited about this. Now, when it came back to me, there was a lot of Pokemon that I was looking at, right? A lot of people were starting to pick Tier 4s at this point, and I was looking at a lot of different mons, and I really wanted a Prankster mon, right? I wanted Sableye, but we already had a Ghost type, and you know, we already had 2 Pokemon that can Will-O-the-Wisp. We have other Pokemon that can Taunt, like Kingambit. I just did not, I mean, obviously Kingambit's slow, but I didn't feel like just drafting it for a Prankster Taunt Recovermon was really that good of a deal. Like, it just didn't seem to get too many moves. I feel like it was better off that if I went for a Tier 4 when it came to it, when it came to Prankster. So we picked up, well, never mind. We picked up Ursaring first. Before we picked up our Prankster Mon, right? Another tier 3 Mon, which I was really excited about. So originally we had the Dunsparce on our team. Originally we picked up the Dunsparce. We had used that in another first season of Gen 9 Draft League. And I really, really liked it. I definitely think it's underrated. However, I always like to have at least one Eviolite Mon. And Ursaring's got base 130 attack. You guys heard me when I said Groudon has base 150, right? Ursaring is 20 base points less attack. That's insane, right? And this thing has base 90 HP, base 75 defense, base 75 special defense. Throw the Eviolite on this thing. This thing is coming in like the tank from Left 4 Dead. Like, this thing is just going to come in all muscled up, bursting through doors, and just being able to just fire off moves with that base 130 attack stat, all buffed up with the Eviolite defensive-wise. I think it's going to be awesome, right? We do also get access to Guts, too, which is kind of cool. So if we do want to run Flame Orb and then fire off Facades, or, you know, even without the Flame Orb, we could run, like, Takedown, or not Takedown, Body Slam, and try to get Paras, stuff like that. Gets access to Earthquake, Shadow Claw, a lot of really, really cool moves. Rest would be cool. Resto Chesto might be a pretty cool set to use at one point. I really like this Mon. I feel like dropping the Dunsparce for it was actually a pretty good pickup. I've wanted to use this thing in previous seasons. We've just never really gotten the option to. So if that's the case, I decided it was also a best bet for me to make this thing a Terra Captain, right? So we do have normal, Ghost, and Fighting. Very, very basic Terra Captains for Teddy here. Normal, obviously, because we have to be our normal typing anyways, but honestly, normal typing just to fire off some, like, Terra normal body slams or facades, like, that's really, really good in general. We did base Terra Ghost, too, so we can avoid the fighting type attacks. That way we can also get Stab Shadow Claw, which is pretty cool. And then Terra Fight to try and take out the, you know, Steel, Rock, or Ice types that do resist normal type damage, so... actually, no, Ice types do not resist normal type damage, but, you know, the Steel and Rock types that want to do that, we can just Terra Fight, Terra Blast, you know, and hit those. I think most of the time we're going to be normal or Ghost, but I think this thing is just really good, but, yeah. Now we drafted our Prankster Mon, which was Luna the Meowstic. I'm actually excited. I've never really drafted Meowstic, and to be honest with you, I didn't even plan on drafting this thing until about an hour before I drafted it. I actually had this thing blank, and I was going to wait till my last pick to see what I wanted that fit best in my team. But I felt like I said, I wanted a Prankster Mon, and a lot of these Mons were getting taken, so I felt like I should be able just to take it. We do get the male and female for both forms with this, but we're just going to be running the male form because it gets Prankster. It gets Prankster Screens, which is awesome. Thunder Wave, it gets access to Fake Out, too, which is just really, really nice, which obviously isn't boosted by Prankster because it's already... priority, but it's still a really, really good move. It gets access to, like, Nasty Plot, Psychic, Thunderbolt, Shadow Ball, a lot of stuff like that, too. So, like, maybe at some point we'll be able to just come in with this thing, catch somebody off guard, thinking that we might screens, you know, likely screens, and then just Nasty Plot, Life Orb, you know, fire off some, you know, fun moves, especially because it's base 104 speed, so we are able to, you know, hit pretty hard, or be very fast and outspeed a lot of Pokemon. I think this is pretty good in general. Its other stats are abysmal, but, you know, this is probably going to be one of those Pokemon that sits on our roster, and then maybe at some point I'll bring it to help us out at some point. But, yeah. So then we have our last two Pokemon. I still had another tier 2 that I was going to draft, but I knew it wasn't going to be drafted until last. So we decided to go with our tier 3 electric type, which I felt like I really, really needed. I wanted another good pivot Mon. Another Mon bringing back from another season. We have Suction Cup the Electros, right? I actually really like Electros. It was, I think it's really underrated again for 100 points. You know, I feel like it was very underrated. This thing honestly gets access to, like, Volt Switch and stuff. And it's got a base 115 attack and a base 105 special attack. So, like, even if we wanted to run specially, we can. We can run it physically offensive. It does get access to Supercell Slam now. So if I want to come in and just click Supercell Slam, it would be really cool. This Pokemon is one of the only Pokemon that doesn't have any weaknesses because it is a Levitate Mon. So I didn't want to make this thing a Terra Captain because I was like, I don't want to, because I feel like at some point I'm going to be like, oh, this thing has no weaknesses. Let's Terra Flying, or let's Terra Electric, and then, or let's Terra Water or something, and now it's got weak to grass, and then just, totally. I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't do that, but at the same time, I wouldn't put it past me. So I didn't want to make this thing a Terra Captain, but it does get access to stuff like Fire Punch, Thunder Punch, Coil, gets access to like Gunk Shot. There was another move in there too. Close Combat it gets access to, which is pretty nice. Gets access to like Thunder, Thunderbolt, just a lot. Flamethrower, that was what it was. Giga Drain, just a lot of really, really cool moves like that. So I'm really excited to use this thing. I think it'll be very versatile, and I think it'll help out our team quite a bit. I really like this animation, but at the same time, man, they didn't do Electros justice after it got its 3D model. I miss its black and white model so much. But yeah. So our last pick for our draft, guys, like I said, I'm holding out on you about that tier 2 because I knew it wasn't going to get picked, and even if it did, there was another tier 2 that I could have picked. But I'm super excited. We drafted this thing last season and then dropped it in the the grace period. So this season, we're bringing him back, guys. We're bringing him back. We got Justice the Terrakion. I'm so hyped. Never used this thing in draft. We drafted it even before the season started last year. So, like, let's go. Like, come on. We got Justice. We got these blades on his head. This thing in. Just some more power. I mean, look at that base 129 attack, bro. Whew. It's funny. This legendary Sword of Justice has less attack than Ursaring, right? Granted, only 1 base point less than attack, but it's still less than attack. Ursaring is on par with Terrakion with attack. Is insane, right? Another more bulky mon. Base 108 speed actually is faster than I thought it was. And then it has a decent, defense. So I can just, run it a little bit more bulky and, have it come in, fire off close combats, fire stone edges, rock slides. I think this thing also gets access to fake out, bulk ups. This thing is just going to come in. I think it might get access to Vacuum Wave too. I don't know. Maybe. But either way, I just think this thing is going to be really good. Having that extra bulk and having that extra power, I think is just really, really awesome. So, yeah. Looking at our team, it's very bulk central, which I didn't really mean to do that. I mean, Terrakion is relatively bulky. Ursaring is very bulky. Articuno can be relatively bulky. Venusaur can be relatively bulky. King Gambit definitely has physical bulk to him. Walking Wake could be brand bulky, and Groudon's bulky. So we have so many Pokemon on this team that are bulk central. I really feel like if somebody has access to Toxic Spikes, they're going to bring it, right? Even if we have Venusaur, they're going to bring it. And if they have, another Sun Central team, like the Koraidon team, and they think I might not bring Venusaur, we might have to bring it just so we can absorb Toxic Spikes. Because it's going to happen. They're going to need to chip us down like that. So I also think that we don't have a lot of speed on our team. Terrakion's decently fast. And then the only other ones are Meowstic and Rabombi have alright speeds, but they're not great. Venusaur is really fast in the sun. And then Walking Wake, Typhlosion, and Groudon can all be fast if we run them fast. But otherwise, just base speed wise, we don't have anything blisteringly fast. I like to have one Pokemon that I feel like is just really good, but we do have a lot of speed control on the team with Sticky Webs and Tailwind support, so that's just going to be really, really good for us in general, just being able to slow our foes down or speed us up to try and do this. But like I said, stepped out of my comfort zone a little bit, definitely have a little bit of a Sun team, but also have a lot of Pokemon that can run outside of Sun, both Venusaur and Typhlosion. Both, if we don't end up bringing Groudon, can still put in work. I mean, still Terra Fire, Choice Scarf, or Choice Specs Typhlosion is still going to put in work outside of the Sun. And Venusaur, even if I want to come in to Sleep Powder some stuff or Leech Seed some stuff and just be a bulky menace, I can do that as well. But that is our team, guys. My voice sounds really rough because I need a drink. So I'm going to go downstairs and get a drink. And I'm going to end off this video. So, like I say at the end of every video, guys, I am the Nitro General. I really hope you guys did enjoy it. I'll see you in the next one. Nitro General's out.